For this question, since we don't have the passage, it feels like we're not going to have enough information. But I think that's actually a good thing here because it simulates what it's really like to not understand the passage. And this would have been a very difficult one to understand. But it shouldn't stop us because we can still go through what we're given and look for key words that connect. So first things first with these evidence pairs, start with the question, what do we need to do? We need to find Lincoln's view of the Dred Scott decision, which presumably is the topic of the passage. Then skip ahead to the line references. Anything that doesn't seem like it's talking about Lincoln's view, we can get rid of. So choice A here, it's really just a statement of fact. You might leave it in, but it doesn't really feel like Lincoln's view. It really just looks like a statement about what happened in the decision. The court was divided. So I don't really like that choice. Choice B, judicial decisions in general are greater or lesser authority as precedents according to circumstances. Well, I added the in general part, but that seems to be what's implied, that we're just talking generally about judicial decisions. So that also doesn't strike me as very good. Choice C is very confusing, but it does seem to be talking about the decision and saying something about it being affirmed and reaffirmed, or if it had been before the court before, then it would have been a precedent. So I don't really know or understand it, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it in and I'm just going to see what happens later and worry about understanding it later when I get to the answer choices for question 1. So in choice D, well, this is Douglas's view, so that's not good. So personally, with experience, I'm pretty sure that line reference C is going to be the right line reference here, but even if you didn't do that level of elimination, that's okay. We don't need to get down to one line reference at this stage. You might have kept a couple of these in. But now when we go to the choices for part 1, we should be able to still get to the same place. Let's look at choice A. The Dred Scott decision was opposed by a large number of American citizens. Well, none of these lines talk about what American citizens think. And even just in general, large number is a very strong phrase. I would be very nervous about that, even outside of the passage. That's a very strong thing to be putting in the answer choice. Same thing with number 2. It gave too much power to the territorial governments. Well, it's not talking about giving power to any sort of government, and too much power didn't really seem to be the issue here. So both A and B contain those strong words that really scare me, and I have no evidence of those strong words in any of the line references that we read. Now we get to choice C. It should be treated as precedent until the court rules otherwise. So in a way, this seems pretty good to me because we do talk about precedent. D, though, its relevant issues had not previously been before the court. This is perfectly vague for the SAT because it talks about the relevant issues without actually specifying the relevant issues. That's a classic SAT move. This does match with choice C here, line reference C. So how does it match? Well, its issues had not previously been before the court. That's also a very strong phrase, a strong idea that we would want to check. But it does say in line reference C, if it had been before the court more than once, and had there been affirmed and reaffirmed through a course of years, it then might be, perhaps would be, factious, nay, even revolutionary to not acquiesce in it as precedent. So I barely understand what he's saying. There's lots of comma clauses. He's kind of interrupting himself. But the point that I do understand, the lines in those lines that I do get unequivocally are that it had not been before the court. That is exactly what choice D says in number 1. And this is why, even when the passage is really dense, you don't need to understand everything. We can usually get these answer choices just by focusing on the stuff that we do understand and not letting the weirder stuff get in the way. I promise you, you understand more about these hard passages than you think.